Welcome to American Press Productions, independent political analysis. Our featured story today is AIPAC, when Representative Ilhan Omar discovered the one topic she is not allowed to criticize, an update. But first, the daily headlines. Will Smith has been cast to play Venus and Serena Williams' father in an upcoming film titled King Richard. There's just one problem, though. He's not black enough. A debate has sparked over the color of his skin. He's apparently too white. Venus and Serena Williams' father has darker skin than Will Smith, both of them black men. On CNN, award-winning pop culture and politics journalist and vice president of the National Association of Black Journalists Los Angeles chapter, Jared Hill explains the problem is Will Smith just doesn't look like the real-life person he has been cast to play. Their skin color is too different. But no, Jared Hill isn't advocating for true-to-life representation in casting. He sees this as a fight against white supremacy. And in this revelation of absurdity, it is revealed Hill, and others who share similar viewpoints, lack any objective morality in their arguments. His is subjective unto his own biases. He advocates for his own kind, people who look like him, and in that, there is no fault. The problem lies in the fiery damnation our society has been trained to cast upon any white person who would do the same as Jared Hill. You've heard of sanctuary cities. Now we might have sanctuary states. A new proposal by Democratic state representatives in New Mexico would restrict federal contracts for immigration detention centers and limit the use of state and local resources for civil immigration custody for detention purposes. The bill is expected to be strongly opposed by New Mexico State House Republicans. Cibola County Commissioner Robert Windhorst, a Republican, said, "The state wants to protect coyotes and wolves, raise taxes, limit the Second Amendment rights of honest, law-abiding citizens, give no protections to the unborn, and protect the rights of illegal aliens who have invaded our borders." A rare joint statement to the press has been made by the director of the CIA, Gina Haspel, and the director of national intelligence, Dan Coates. The statement is a rebuke about media reports regarding President Trump's handling of security briefings over assertions that are, quote, false, unproductive, and harmful to our nation's security, end quote. Quote, speculation, including that from former and unnamed intelligence officers about what occurs in our Oval Office briefings is wrong, end quote. There has been a growing trend in the media since President Trump took office to use and cite unnamed sources, anonymous current and former government officials, and what amounts to the media being able to craft the story they want to tell, rather than the objective truth. And now to our featured story, AIPAC, when Representative Ilhan Omar discovered the one topic she is not allowed to criticize, an update. Representative Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, is often in the news for all the wrong reasons. She said Senator Lindsey Graham was compromised. She took part in bullying innocent high school students. She insisted President Trump was backing a coup in Venezuela. She also called to completely defund Department of Homeland Security. She's not afraid to speak her mind, and she doesn't apologize. Through all of this, her fellow Democrats largely remained silent. Republicans were quietly dismissive of her. The news media sometimes mocked her as entertainment. Then, she criticized AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. AIPAC is a lobbyist group, one of the largest and most powerful that influences the American government, our elected officials. They are largely responsible for the distinctly large financial aid packages the American government gives Israel. Israel's latest gift from America, $38 billion. AIPAC isn't the only pro-Israel lobby. There are many others, such as J Street, Stand With Us, AJC, JTA. The list goes on and on. AIPAC, like all lobbyist groups, are barred from directly donating to political candidates or elected officials. But its more than 100,000 members are not, and they are encouraged to do so. Another way to skirt donation laws is by affiliated nonprofits offering expense-paid trips to Israel for elected officials and their family and staff that can run over $12,000 per person. These affiliated nonprofits are not required by any law to disclose their donors. Omar's tweets that kicked off the controversy have since been deleted. The two simply read, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby," in response to lobbying efforts, and AIPAC, singling out a specific Israeli lobby. If you want anything done in D.C., being a concerned voter is not high on the list of effectiveness. Take a look at the top lobbying firms from 2018. Those tens of millions of dollars represent re-election campaigns for politicians, expense-paid trips, expensive dinners, and perhaps most importantly, an avenue for their post-politics career. Democrats love to attack the NRA, which is in part a lobbyist group, yet no one would think to ask the absurd question, "Would love to know who you think is paying American politicians to be pro-gun?" Well, some have actually asked that question, insinuating it was Russians. After Ilhan Omar's two tweets above, she was attacked with accusations of anti-Semitism from the right and the left, and users all over social media. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called on Omar to apologize, calling her tweets anti-Semitic tropes, prejudicial accusations, and deeply offensive. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican from California, promised action over the tweets, further saying, quote, "It's unacceptable in this country," end quote. Liz Cheney, Republican from Wyoming, called it anti-Semitism. Former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, said, "This cannot be tolerated in our Congress." Chelsea Clinton, daughter of Bill and Hillary, said, "We should expect all elected officials, regardless of party, and all public figures to not traffic in anti-Semitism." Meghan McCain, daughter of former Senator McCain, responded to Chelsea saying, "Thank you, Chelsea. Anti-Semitism on all sides, in all spaces, no matter how uncomfortable, should always be called out and condemned. There's no shortage of public officials, their family members, leaders of nonprofits and non-government organizations in America, as well as swarms of social media users claiming what Omar tweeted was anti-Semitism." But let's take a step back, remove the fact that AIPAC is an Israeli lobbying firm, in other words, Jewish or Semitic. They operate just as any other lobbying firm in the US does, aside from one key difference. In nearly all cases, the clients of lobbyist firms are American corporations, American cities, American groups. While lobbying is a form of legalized bribery and corrupts the effectiveness of our government, it is mainly Americans who exploit it. But AIPAC and the many other pro-Israel lobbyist groups entirely represent a foreign country. They are highly effective at funneling American taxpayer money to that country to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. And they receive bipartisan support at a time when it seems our two political parties would disagree on the color of the sky just to be at odds with each other. And now, when criticized, they shield themselves and hide behind accusations of anti-Semitism. Where was the anti-Semitism? There's something strange in all of this, something very worrying. One couldn't imagine an AIPAC-like firm for Russia or China or even France being allowed in America. Imagine trying to convince any American to accept the existence of an organization that gives tens of thousands of dollars to our elected officials in return for billions and billions of taxpayer money for that country. In many of those conversations, the word treason would likely be said. But back to Ilhan Omar. The beginning of this article claims she does not apologize for the things she says, and that is almost always true. But in this case, she did apologize, saying, quote, "I unequivocally apologize," end quote. When you want to know who rules over you, find out who you are not allowed to criticize. We are certainly allowed to say any number of obscene things about President Trump and any member of the Congress or Senate, but one criticism of a Jewish lobbyist firm that is equally applicable to any lobbyist firm, and out comes a unified condemnation behind baseless accusations of anti-Semitism. In a more recent development to this story, Ilhan Omar has accused American supporters of Israel of pushing people to have allegiance to a foreign country. In response to this comment, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said Senate Democrats will hold a resolution to denounce all forms of hatred, including anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and white supremacy. Some believe Pelosi is attempting to pivot away from Omar's controversial remarks that have not only invited criticism of the Democratic Party as a whole, but opened up a schism from within. Congressman James Clyburn, Democrat from South Carolina, defended Omar on Wednesday by saying her experiences are more personal than Jews, whose parents survived the Holocaust. He argued that Omar's experience, quote, is much more empirical and powerful than that of people who are generations removed from the Holocaust, Japanese internment camps during World War II, and the other violent episodes that have marked history, end quote, according to a report by The Hill. Clyburn here brings up a powerful point about the other violent episodes that have marked history. At what point do we leave the past to the past and judge the current generations and nations on their actions of today, rather than on what may have happened in the past?